Title: Closet Monsters Chapter 1. The closet. I used to be afraid of the monsters that looked in my closet. When I was a kid, I would lie in bed at night, petrified that something was going to crawl out of the darkness and get me. I would pull the covers up over my head, trying to block out the sound of my own breathing. My parents tried to reassure me that there was nothing to be afraid of, that it was all just my imagination. But I knew better. I could hear the monsters whispering to each other, plotting their next move. It wasn't until I started college that I realized that I wasn't alone in my fear. My roommate, Jake, was also afraid of the monsters that lived in the closet. We would both lie in our twin beds, staring up at the ceiling, listening to the creaking and groaning of the old building. But something about having Jake there with me made me feel better. I wasn't alone anymore. Chapter 2: Strange Happenings. One night, I woke up to a strange noise coming from the closet. It sounded like something was moving around in there, shuffling and scratching against the walls. I sat up in bed, staring at the closed closet door. Jake was snoring softly beside me, oblivious to the noise. I knew I should be scared, but instead, I felt a strange sense of curiosity. I got out of bed and crept over to the closet, my heart pounding in my chest. I rested my hand on the doorknob, hesitating for a moment before turning it. The door creaked open, revealing a dark, empty space. I felt a rush of fear and excitement as I stepped into the closet, looking around for the source of the noise. But there was nothing there. I was about to leave when I saw something move out of the corner of my eye. I turned, my heart in my throat, to see a shadowy figure darting across the back of the closet. I screamed and stumbled backwards, tripping over a pile of shoes. Jake jumped out of bed, looking around frantically. "What's going on?" he demanded. "I saw something," I exclaimed, pointing towards the closet. "Something in there." Jake looked around, his eyes adjusting to the darkness. "I don't see anything," he said finally. "Maybe it was just your imagination." But I knew what I had seen, and I knew it wasn't my imagination. Chapter 3. Investigating. Over the next few weeks, strange things began happening in our room. Things would go missing, only to turn up in odd places. The lights would flicker on and off for no reason. And every night, we could hear strange whispers coming from the closet. Jake was starting to get freaked out. He would spend hours searching the room, looking for the source of the strange happenings. But he never found anything. I was obsessed with the closet. I would spend hours sitting inside, watching and waiting for the monsters to appear. But they never did. One night, I finally decided to take matters into my own hands. I grabbed a flashlight and a baseball bat and climbed into the closet. I sat there in the darkness, listening for any noises. But there was nothing. I was about to give up when I saw a glimmer of light coming from behind one of the shirts hanging in the closet. I stood up and moved closer, shining my flashlight on the spot. There was a small hole in the wall, just big enough for something to crawl through. I peered inside and saw a narrow tunnel, leading off into the darkness. I don't know what possessed me, but I crawled inside. It was cramped and dark, and the air was thick with the scent of old dust and rusted metal. I crawled for what felt like an eternity, my fingers scraping against the rough walls. I was starting to think that I had made a mistake when I finally saw a light up ahead. Chapter 4. The Monster. I crawled towards the light, my heart pounding with fear and excitement. As I got closer, I could see a small room at the end of the tunnel. I crawled into the room and saw a figure sitting in the shadows. It was dark and hard to see, but it looked like a small, hunched-over creature. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice shaking with fear. The creature didn't answer. It just sat there, staring at me with tiny, beady black eyes. "What do you want?" I asked, trying to sound braver than I felt. The creature just grinned, revealing a row of jagged teeth. I screamed and scrambled backwards, tripping over my own feet and falling to the ground. The creature leapt forward, its long, sharp claws reaching for me. I swung my baseball bat wildly, hitting the creature in the head. It let out a terrible screech and fell backwards, disappearing into the shadows. I stumbled to my feet and ran back down the tunnel. I didn't stop until I was outside of the closet, gasping for breath. Jake was standing there, looking at me like I was crazy. "What the hell happened?" he demanded. "I found the monster," I said, my voice shaking. "It's in the wall." Chapter 5. The truth. After that night, things started to make sense. We realized that the monster in the closet wasn't a figment of our imagination. It was real. We didn't tell anyone about our discovery, afraid that people would think we were crazy. But we started to treat the closet with a newfound respect. We would leave it closed at night, and avoid going near it unless we had to. But even then, strange things would happen. We would still hear the whispers and see shadows moving out of the corners of our eyes. One day, I found a scrap of paper inside my backpack. It was a note, written in jagged, uneven handwriting. It said, "You can't stop us. We are always watching you." I showed the note to Jake, and he turned pale. "We have to do something," he said. "We can't just live like this forever." And so we decided to investigate. We knew that the monster was coming from the wall, but we didn't know where or how. Chapter 6. The final battle. We spent weeks researching and trying to figure out a way to defeat the monster. We read books on demonology and spent hours on the internet, searching for any useful information. Finally, we found something. We discovered that the monster was a type of demon, summoned to our world by someone with evil intentions. We didn't know who had summoned it or why, but we knew we had to stop it. We prepared for battle, arming ourselves with whatever we could find. Jake had a baseball bat, and I had a crucifix that my grandmother had given me. We waited until nightfall, then crept into the closet. We were both terrified, but we pushed our fear aside and focused on our goal. We found the hole in the wall where the monster was coming from and sealed it up with duct tape. We knew it wasn't a permanent solution, but it would buy us some time. We waited for what felt like hours, listening to the sounds of our own breathing. But there was nothing. Just when we thought we were safe, we heard a scratching sound coming from behind the wall. We readied ourselves for battle, our hearts pounding in our chests. The monster burst through the wall, snarling and snapping at us with its jagged teeth. We fought back with all our strength, hitting it with everything we had. In the end, we were victorious. The monster retreated back into the darkness, never to be seen again. Chapter 7. The aftermath. After that night, things started to feel normal again. We still had the occasional strange happening, but it was nothing compared to what we had faced. Jake and I didn't talk about the monster much after that. It was like a dark secret between us, something we didn't want to remember. But I knew that I would never forget the experience. I had faced my fear and come out the other side stronger. And even though I was no longer afraid of the monsters in my closet, I knew that I would always be glad that I wasn't alone anymore.